Greetings, Force users. Welcome. In this next series of videos, what I'm going to do is break down some of my 8x8 kits. This one in front of me is called Dilla's Dream. And I called it this because whilst in the middle of sound designing, I was kind of hitting a wall of creativity. So I'd like to do creative experiments. And working at Akai, I figured if J Dilla was still alive, I'd probably be the one showing him Force. So with that said, I thought to myself, what would be the coolest way to demonstrate Akai Force to J Dilla? And then a day later, keep in mind this is my first time sound designing a kit this big, I had this. And then after I was done creating it, I had to learn how to play it. And it became so, for lack of a better term, addicting to play it that it made me a much better musician in the process. So this is something that I recommend you doing. And in order to give you some creative inspiration, let me break down Dilla's Dream. So let's start with the left-hand side. This is going to be a little bit more familiar because we've worked on 4x4. And in the middle here, these kind of signify different quadrants. So this is the first 4x4 quadrant, or bank A. And just think of this as drums, right? I have kick, snare, close, open, kick, room click, clap. And I got a room click with some reverb on it. Some different shakers and cymbals. And what's cool, when you have more pads, you don't necessarily need to think about what's on each pad as much, if that makes sense, right? So for example, I have these two for flams. But then I have one that's just dedicated to reverb. And then I have three different pads just dedicated to delay speed, right? So when I'm playing, that's not something that I would even consider doing on a 4x4 because I only have 16 pads. And it's like, I really need those for other sounds, you know? And then I have cymbals. And notice that there's three cymbals, three different layers, and those are being randomized right now, right? So there's not a lot of consistency to when I hit them, and that makes sense because a cymbal, like no cymbal or drum player just hits the same three cymbals in sequence, right? And then above that, I got some toms. So really good sounding drums. And that continues up here. I guess there's a couple samples and I can, let me mute those for now. So that leaves me with the right side of my pads. And what I did for consistency, since I'm doing some finger drumming here, is I had closed open, closed open, closed open, and I have that across so I can move at any time from left to right. So as I'm doing my verts, I like to call them verts because again, we need terminology to describe these techniques. And since 8x8's really new, I haven't been able to find any. So I figured, why not make up your own? So yeah, call it these verts. So as I'm verting, I can go from left to right, and I always have my hi-hat in places that I need. And then I had this idea for a plugin where you could have a chord, it would play a good chord in the progression, and then automatically load up a bass line. But then I was like, okay, well, how am I going to describe this to somebody? And I thought, hey, I could probably create this already with Force Sampler. So that's what I have here. Round robin bass lines. I can turn that up a little bit. Let's just do that. Turn that up. Cool. So whenever I hit it, it just goes around in a circle, round robin style. And then the chords above it sound good for that bass line. So as I play this one, it'll sound like. Second one, slower tempo. So that was a lot of fun, right? So this is just a single bass line, so it's kind of like a droning bass. But then I copied those up here. So I can play something like... so I can do it in a few different ways. Let's just do it like this. The eighth notes. It takes a bit of practice, not gonna lie. It's just like any other instrument. You don't go and pick up a guitar and expect to play like Jimi Hendrix. It requires some artistry and some practice. However, it's really easy to wrap your head around a kit when you build it from scratch. So let me move above here to these purple ones, which are all those different sound effects. And then the blue guys below that are different vocals. And then I have these forest sounds. It's so much fun. Like if I want to do something a little bit heavier. So that's Dilla's Dream in all its glory. And with that said, I'm gonna let you go. I hope you enjoyed this. I have a bunch of other kits that I want to show you. So if this is something that you enjoy, please let us know and we'll create some more for you. With that said, until next time, adios.